Let's start with our first news. Usman and Cejudo agree Ilia Topuria should fight Islam Makhachev next. On their Pound for Pound podcast, Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman discussed Joe Rogan's recent comments about Ilia Topuria potentially fighting Islam Makhachev. Rogan suggested that El Matador should get a shot at the lightweight champion, sparking debate among fans and analysts. Henry acknowledged the common Dagestani mantra of anytime, anywhere, but argued that in reality, they want Ilia to earn his shot by fighting a top contender at 155 first. He also expressed doubts about his chances against Islam. However, both Henry and Usman ultimately agreed with Rogan's take, reasoning that Ilia deserves the opportunity after defeating two pound-for-pound greats. They emphasized that his impressive resume justifies a title shot, setting the stage for what would be a blockbuster matchup. Henry also suggested Ilia should change his approach towards trash talk. He said that El Matador should focus on becoming the bad guy because he actually carries that aura. There were two first ballot Hall of Famers, bro, and I feel like Ilia deserves that, but it takes two to tangle, and I don't feel like these Dagestanis, bro, even though they say anytime, anywhere. It's like, Islam wants to make sure that Ilia deserves it. He wants him to go through the top contender as we talked about before. But if I had my choice, of course, Ilia fights Islam Makhachev. I think he needs to be more verbal about it, and really, he's been throwing little jabs here and there that he'll stop him, but I think he needs to stop being the nice guy because he doesn't have that nice guy aura. His aura should be more of that bad one. I feel like that's where he can really cut that great promo and get people involved. So I think Joe Rogan's right. I want to see that. I would love to see that. Do I believe Ilia could beat Islam? No. But if you ain't trying, if you don't go out there and actually try, the key is actually trying. This is weird, man, but the key is actually trying to attempt. Moving on to the second news, Merab Dvalishvili talks about Dagestani fighters. Merab Dvalishvili knows what it's like firsthand to battle a fighter from Dagestan. While the bantamweight champ acknowledges the region produces elite fighters, he's not about to declare that they're gods among men. Dvalishvili is coming off a decision win over Dagestan's Omar Nurmagomedov, who had not been defeated until he fought the Georgian fighter. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Although the fight was close and some questioned the decision, Merab did prove his doubters wrong, and let's face it, there was no shortage of those heading into UFC 311. Well, more recently, Merab was asked about facing Dagestani fighters while talking with Europop. Here's some of what he had to say. Dagestanis are really good fighters. They've always excelled in martial arts, but at the same time, they are ordinary people. Heavenly forces do not help them. They are ordinary athletes, and others can defeat them, as you saw in my case. Khabib went undefeated, but he simply did not meet a worthy opponent. Sure, history shows us that Dagestani fighters are indeed human, but is it accurate that Khabib Nurmagomedov did not face a worthy opponent? It would be interesting to see what Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, or yes, Conor McGregor have to say about that. Interestingly enough, recently Ilia Topuria was also asked about Dagestani fighters while appearing on the Full Send podcast. The way the featherweight king sees it, Dagestani fighters are ultimately front runners, and they don't fare well if things don't go their way. None of them have like a special cardio or special stamina, you know what I mean? If they fail in the first contact in the first round, they can control you, and it's very competitive. Their head goes down. So what do you think? It's about beating them in the earlier rounds. This is what they try to do to beat you in the earlier rounds, to feel that they can dominate you, that they are stronger than you. This is what they try to do all the time. But when they realize that it's not like that, most of the time they lose those kinds of fights. Like all the competitive fights, they lose all of them. Of course, if we're talking about the aforementioned Makhachev or Khabib, would most people say they don't have good cardio or stamina, or that they fold in competitive fights? Probably not. But Dagestan is a region with over 3 million people that has produced many fighters, so it's kind of important to clarify the sample size while having these discussions. All that aside, what do you think of Merab and Ilia's comments here? Do you agree? Moving on to another piece of news, Usman's honest take on a potential matchup between Dricus du Plessis, DDP, and Khamzat Chimaev has generated quite a bit of attention. Usman shared his thoughts on the highly anticipated fight, offering his perspective on what would happen if the two top contenders were to face off. As promised by UFC President Dana White, Khamzat Chimaev is most likely next in line for a title shot against DDP, making the matchup one of the most talked about fights in the division. During an appearance on ESPN's UFC Vegas Vegas 102 post-fight show, Kamaru Usman didn't hold back in giving his honest assessment. Usman called Khamzat the most difficult fighter to deal with in the first round, emphasizing that the first round would be absolutely crucial in determining the outcome of the fight. He stated that Chimaev has the tools and abilities to not only win this matchup, but also to defeat DDP and potentially claim the championship. Usman explained that while many fighters are dangerous, Chimaev's unique approach and ferocity in the opening round set him apart from the rest. "Real quickly, Kamaru, who wins that fight?" asked the host. Without hesitation, Usman responded, "Y'all just going to put me on the spot?" He acknowledged that the matchup is intriguing and pointed out that Khamzat Chimaev is one of the hardest opponents to face when you're dealing with him in that first round. Usman further elaborated, stating that if you don't get past Chimaev's early pressure, it's very hard to make it into the later rounds where things can turn in your favor. With that said, Usman ultimately believes that Khamzat Chimaev has all the necessary skills and abilities to become a champion, making the fight an exciting one for fans and analysts alike. His take solidifies Chimaev's reputation as a dominant force in the division. Moving on to another news, Colby Covington trolls Jon Jones. A story about UFC heavyweight champion Jon Jones hiding under the cage at his gym years ago to avoid taking a drug test has been part of MMA lore for years. Recently, during a live stream on Twitch, Colby Covington took the opportunity to troll Jones about the incident. "Oh, you know what this boxing ring just reminded me of, guys? We should probably look under it to see if Jon Jones is there, just like when he hid there from USADA. Well, sorry guys, I thought Jon Jones would be there. He loves to hide under the ring so much." Moving on to another exciting development in the world of MMA, Ilia Topuria has come forward with bold claims, stating that Islam Makhachev is scared to fight him. The lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, has not seemed too eager to face Topuria in the cage, and has hinted at moving up in weight to pursue other challenges. According to Topuria, however, the true reason behind Makhachev's reluctance to fight him is simply that the renowned lightweight champion is afraid of stepping into the octagon with him. For a while now, both Makhachev and Topuria have made public statements about the possibility of moving up in weight to hunt for titles in other divisions. Makhachev in particular has even suggested that he would be willing to fight at middleweight, as his friend and teammate Belal Muhammad holds the welterweight belt. This statement alone highlights his ambitions beyond his current weight class. However, when asked about facing Ilia Topuria, Makhachev has continually dismissed the idea. According to the champion, defeating Topuria wouldn't add anything significant to his legacy, especially since Makhachev has already claimed victories over the former featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski twice. Makhachev has made it clear that he feels he's accomplished enough in the lightweight division, and that a fight with Topuria doesn't bring him any additional value, especially given the money he's already earned. When Topuria was recently asked about Makhachev's dismissals, he didn't hold back. He directly accused Makhachev of being afraid, saying, "He's afraid. Of course he's afraid, as usual. It's an easy fight until they put your name on the contract. We all know if it were that easy. And if I'm small, as he says, he would already share the octagon with me." While it's true that Makhachev faced Volkanovski during the peak of the featherweight king's career, making it hard to believe that Makhachev is actually scared to face Topuria, the claims still raise questions. Makhachev has made it clear that one of his big goals is to win a title in another division, which makes this ongoing back and forth even more intriguing. The real question is the lightweight champion ducking Topuria, or is he just focused on other pursuits at this stage of his career? Moving on to another news, McGregor claims he'll 100% fight in BKFC. At the start of Friday's press conference, as he served as a mediator hype man for the athletes on stage promoting the April 26th event at Palazzo Y in Florence. Despite still being under contract with the UFC and not being active since July 2021, McGregor said he will 100% fight in BKFC and mentioned Eddie Alvarez, Jeremy Stevens, and Mike Perry as potential opponents. What a time to be alive in Italy. If you think I'm up here giving these speeches and leading these men into battle, and I won't step in there myself, think again. Moving on to another news, Ilia Topuria goes off on Sean O'Malley. In a recent interview with Georgian YouTuber Vodovalia, 4 Georgian UFC fighters, including champions Ilia Topuria and Merab Dvalishvili, gathered for an in-depth discussion about their careers and their future. During the conversation, they didn't hold back when the topic of former UFC champion Sean O'Malley came up. They slammed him, accusing him of being solely motivated by money and questioning his legitimacy legitimacy as a champion. They argued that he had lost to every top contender and that his victories were questionable. Merab specifically claimed that Aljamain Sterling simply had an off night and would win a rematch, while the win over Petr Yan was labeled a robbery. Ilia took it further, saying that fighters who focus only on partying, drinking, and money would never achieve true greatness or leave behind a meaningful legacy. He pointed out that O'Malley lost to Marlon Vera and was outclassed by Yan, challenging his status as an elite fighter, calling him out as an overrated hype train who crumbles against the real competition. The Georgian fighters shared an ambitious vision for their future. They revealed a bold plan to dominate multiple weight classes and bring championship gold to Georgia. According to their vision, El Matador aims to move up and capture the lightweight title at 155 pounds, while Merab plans to shift to featherweight and become the 145-pound champion. Meanwhile, Topuria is set on conquering the bantamweight division and securing the 135-pound belt. Their goal is clear: to make history by having 3 Georgian champions reigning simultaneously across different divisions in the UFC. If they succeed, it would be a monumental achievement not just for Georgian MMA, but for the sport as a whole, solidifying Georgia's status as a rising powerhouse in the fight world. Some fighters, like O'Malley, are in it purely for the money, not for legacy. Everyone knows why he fights. He doesn't care about belts. He is picking fights, wants to make money, and smoke nothing else. That guy has lost to every top fighter he has faced. He lost to Chito Vera. What else can I say? The guy only fights stand-up. He has no wrestling skills. Our future looks like this. I don't think Gorham will change weight. He will stay at 155. Ilia will definitely go up to 155 and become a champ there. He is so big and strong, he could easily do it. I will go up to 145 and Alex will become the bantamweight champ. My main goal right now is to capture the lightweight title.